Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Logan Shippey here. I am with my business partner, Chris Herrero.
What's going on, guys?
And today we are going to give you an inside look at an Amazon store that is primarily focused on FBA, which stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. So Chris, why don't you walk them through what an FBA store looks like, the type of products we sell, the profitability of this type of business model, all that good stuff.
Sure. So what we're looking at here, everybody, is an example of what your seller dashboard would look like. In this case, it would be a client that is selling just over around $250,000 in the past 3 months. And they did that, excuse me, by being able to leverage our resources to be able to have our team purchase inventory for them using their capital to be able to sell it in their Amazon store. So you can do that with tons of different products. There's not just one specific product that you can sell. It's actually a multitude of different products on different margins that sell across the store. Every product is going to have its own margin, but the important thing is that we're sourcing inventory exclusively just using the client's capital and then reusing that capital to reinvest back in the store.
So what you're saying right there is you use initial capital, that principal investment, put it into product, that product sells, there's profit that's made, and you take that original principal plus profit and you can compound that into more and more product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So, and even in this case, if we're just looking at this basic calculation, this guy did $247,000 in the past 3 or 4 months. If we just take, 247 and we do some quick math on that, even if you're making, I don't know, let's just say conservative, like 12% margin on there, you're making just about $30,000. And that's passively, so you're not actively sourcing the inventory, you're not going out to look for it. Our team is just doing that for you. Because honestly, most people don't have either the know-how or they just can't be bothered, man.
Yeah.
Just to learn everything like that.
Well, it's not fully passive, like everything's done for you. It's as passive as it can get while still being real. So like, give me an example of a client who says yes to wanting to buy inventory. Our team is obviously doing the due diligence on product research, finding the profitable product, the winning product, presenting it to them. But what does it look like when a client, I guess we do kind of that front end legwork, but we can't just buy that product for the client, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a good thing that you mentioned the difference between like fully autonomous versus like automated, because I think that word gets thrown out, around a lot. But basically what happens is the client has a dedicated amount of funds that they want to use, whether that's in credit, whether that's in liquid capital in their bank account, right? And we're not like, we don't do this this weird stuff where like some companies will have you wire them all of the money and then they kind of go and spend it as they see fit. So what we'll do is our team will find the products and they'll let us know, and you're actually integrated into our group chat with our team. Whenever a product is ready to purchase, we'll let you know. So you can actually go in there, and for the first couple orders, you actually make that purchase yourself. Just log in, the item's usually already in the cart. Or if it's a specific supplier that wants to be wired, we'll tell you the wire details so that you confirm it with us and you actually make the wire payment. And that way you can kind of be a part of the process, at least in the beginning.
It's basically semi-passive, but passive in the sense that you who's watching this, you're not having to do research on the product SKUs that the suppliers that we put you in contact with have. Like, you're not having to go sift through those and figure out what's a winning product. No, we're doing that for you. We have the relationships with the suppliers. We're vetting their inventory, figuring out what we want. And realistically, Chris, like, let's say a supplier had 1,000 products. Out of those 1,000 products at any given time, what would you say is the percentage that of products that we would actually want a client to invest into?
I mean, it's a very small percentage. I mean, because they're just looking for people to buy the inventory that they don't want to sell, right? So it could be 5% of the products.
And that's where the magic is, though, right? So like, if you have 1,000 different products, it is not a smart investment to just pick blindly based off of no data. No, there's specific data that we sift through. And maybe you could talk about that. What goes into that process of product analysis?
Sure. So it's really only a couple things. Amazon's a really big marketplace, so you have to look at what is separating the inventory you're buying from the other products that other people are buying. But obviously the most common thing is that the products that are selling because there's a demand for them, right? And so if you're sticking with household products that are gonna always be in demand, you're not gonna have to really niche down to certain specific products or go viral or make a ton of ads for certain products, right? So one of the big differentiators that we look at something called the BSR, which is the bestseller rank. And that's kind of like the tried and true tested way to see how a product is selling. But it just basically means on Amazon, the product is in demand. A lot of people are buying it. And so the lower that number is, the closer to zero it is, the higher that it's selling on a monthly basis. So that's one of the main things we look at. And the second thing we look at is obviously the price and competition of that item, right? Is it an item that we can effectively source from a supplier at a good enough price to where we can still send it in, pay Amazon, and cover all the fees and still make, 20%, 30% margin on it? That's the most ideal product. And of course, you look at the competition, right? If I see that this product sells 1,000 units a month, and I have 10 competitors, I'm dividing all those things into factor that in, but I'm also not gonna buy 10,000 units. Because I know if it sells 1,000 a month and I buy 10,000, it's gonna take me 10 months.
You're gonna have a huge excess.
Assuming that there's no competition either. So I also have to factor in that as well. But that's why the data helps. So I know that if I can fit that product within that margin of error, I know I can buy X amount, I know I'm gonna sell out within X amount of time, and I'm also going to profit X amount. Okay guys, so this is another product in particular that we're gonna illustrate here. This is an electronics item. So electronics are probably one of the biggest categories that you can sell on the marketplace on Amazon. A lot of people don't like doing it because they're afraid that they might buy something that's not gonna sell, but this is why data is key. So this is a Lenovo monitor here, and we're gonna show you kind of what the metrics look like.
So we have this exact monitor right here. It is selling currently for $187. If we go ahead and punch it into our research tool, you can see that the BSR is about 17,000. It's in the top 0.07% of the products. And then it has it listed here, $187, 382 average monthly sales with about $71,000 in revenue. So what you can do is you can source this product from a wholesaler. This one, for example, would be the PC wholesale. They're selling it for $133. Buy it in bulk, send it to Amazon. Your profit is $31.54 with an average ROI of 24% per sale.
As long as you're sticking below like 300 units, that means you're gonna have enough to be able to sell out within a 30-day period. So with that being said, you're not gonna be stacking and holding inventory for months at a time. You can literally make over $1,000 by just buying 100 of these units, probably less, and still be able to get over 20% ROI, which is kind of just crazy. But this is just another example. I mean, there's tons of these examples everywhere. There's always gonna be a wholesaler that you can find popular brands from, and you just gotta be willing to look at the data and see exactly how it's selling for you to be able to maximize your ROI on it.
And there's still margin for error. Like maybe you see this data and it looks great, and so you go buy it cheap, stack it deep within a certain parameter, and then it maybe sells a little bit slower than expected. What happens then? Is there somewhat of like a liquidation or break-even plan to get out of that product faster?
Yeah, so a good example of that would be somebody who has like, I think we had a client who had like 30K in spend, and they spent about $25,000 on a good product load, right? A couple different products. So they had like 5K left over. So they just threw that 5K into a product that might take like 5 or 6 months to sell, right? Because they could just keep on churning the other 25 over and over again. And that 5K, they're gonna get back, and they'll actually get a really high margin on that, even though it might take longer to sell. But they just wanted to throw that in there because it'll take them 6 months to sell it. That was product that they already knew was gonna move. It might take longer, but they could still use the rest of their funds to get other newer inventory into the store.
That makes sense.
So they bought that inventory, it sat there for a little while, but that's because it was designed that way. And if they really wanted to liquidate it, you just drop the price to where it's like you're break even, so you're not really losing anything.
So you basically undercut all other sellers on that specific listing, so you get priority for that.
Exactly. You drop your price to where Amazon's gonna wanna put you up there first.
That makes total sense. Yeah, so we have the analysis side of things that's based off of data. So here's a product. Is it already selling on Amazon? How many units are selling on a weekly or monthly basis? How many sellers are also selling that as a highly competitive, product, if you will? And then also best case scenario, we know we can make X amount of dollars in this time frame. But worst case scenario, what if it doesn't sell fast? The goal is to keep money moving. So that's like the simplest way to understand what's going on with e-commerce is you have money that's sitting in your bank, on a credit card, etc. and you're taking that money from that place and you're putting it into product, and the goal is to have that product move as fast as possible. So money goes in, money goes back to your bank, money goes back in, money goes back to your bank. If a product is moving somewhat slow, okay, that's opportunity cost. It's smarter to liquidate out of that product rather than waiting a bunch of time and hoping that it sells, because your money could be in another product that is selling faster with higher margins. So just think about e-commerce as a way to move money. It's like, water wants to flow. So your money wants to flow as well. And this is just a way to keep the money flowing.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of it is just like, kind of like a car. You buy a car and like, maybe it's like some crazy model, but the longer you have it sitting there, the more it's devaluing and the less opportunity that you have to take that money out, maybe buy another car.
Yep.
That's like worth more. So you may lose like a little bit in that moment selling the car, just like your inventory, right? Oh, I'm going to take a little bit of a loss on this item, but
okay.
if I can deploy that capital out somewhere else to other products that are going to sell quicker,
Yes.
now I can make that slight loss back just out of efficiency.
Facts. So can you show what some of the products look like on the store that are listed and that are currently selling? Like, let's just go straight into more data so people can see it's a real business. You've got a digital storefront, but you have physical goods that are being sold. That's why I love e-commerce, is it's this mix. Like a lot of people, they look at cryptocurrency and they look at other online business models and it's just purely digital, and people can't get on board with that because it's such a foreign concept to what they're used to, especially if people have ran a traditional brick and mortar business. Like they want to invest in gold because it's physical and tangible. They want to invest in inventory, but not necessarily be bottlenecked by a location. That's what's beautiful about the e-commerce business model, specifically selling on Amazon, is you have your storefront. You can market your products to people across the entire United States. There's a huge stream of buyers. We're just putting those products in front of them. And again, it's a digital storefront, but these are physical products like you can see here that are being sold.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is being able to understand that there's kind of like this space, kind of like you have like this digital piece of real estate that's in the cloud, right? And it's got all of your inventory and it's constantly moving. It's like this garage you have of products that are coming in and out. And it's, as long as you have the doors open, people can buy. So in here you can just see a bunch of different products, and there's everything from makeup products to household goods. It really doesn't matter. Cleaning products, all this stuff that you see here are products that people are using on a day-to-day basis. Clippers, formula, engine oil, all of this stuff here, power tools, some automotive stuff. Anything that you really would see in a hardware store, in a Walmart store, in any retail store, those products are being purchased online at any given moment.
The basic, boring products sell.
Exactly.
And a lot of these things are reusables, right? So like, sure, there's a screwdriver, maybe that's not reusable, but a lot of household items are reusable, meaning that, or they run out, is what I'm trying to get at. Like every 30 days, you have to re-up on that supply, whether it's cleaning supplies, wipies, whatever, especially if you have kids. You know how fast you go through those wipies, right? So like things, if you look around you, what do you consume? What do you use? That's what we're trying to sell, because sure, it may not be the most exciting thing. It's not sexy to sell a screwdriver, but it sells.
I mean, if you look at the crazy thing is it's like, 50% of the people in the United States, I forget what the crazy stat is, where if you look inside their house, there's, at this point in time, at least one product in their house that has been purchased on Amazon.
Wow.
At some point, which is, and that number's only growing. So that is kind of insane. Or if you look at it in general, like almost everybody in the United States has an item that they've bought online at some point, whether it's a coffee machine, a table, a lamp, anything. It's at some point touched a warehouse somewhere and made its way into your home. So that's just crazy too.
And there's different ways to make money with e-commerce. You have FBA, which is what we're talking about now, where we purchase a product from a supplier, and that supplier will either send that product directly to an Amazon fulfillment center, or some suppliers that we work with don't allow that, and they'll send it to a 3PL, a warehouse, where it's then prepped and then sent in. So there's an extra step there. We have both of those situations happening simultaneously. Additionally, you have private label where you're creating a product from scratch, creating the branding, the packaging, all that good stuff. You have drop shipping as well. So there's all these different methods to make money with e-commerce. And our goal is to make it as simple as possible for clients to partake in this business model. We do a mix of FBA and FBM. FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, FBM, fulfillment by merchant. And I mean, you could talk a little bit about that fulfillment by merchant because it's similar to FBA, but there are some nuances and differences.
Yeah, I mean, the main difference is that you're not sending in the product into Amazon, right? So all that's happening is dropshipping is extremely lucrative. It has been since the beginning, since it started. But a lot of these marketplaces, they kind of just don't like you doing it. And that's fine. They can't stop everybody, right? And so the way that we found that gets us compliant with Amazon specifically is they want to be able to see that their customers are getting the product from where they think they're buying it from, right? So what the customer doesn't want is you buying an item from Walmart, sending it to them, and then they get a Walmart box, right?
Yep.
Back then, it didn't matter. But
when you say back then, like 5 years ago,
like,
7
yeah,
years
like
ago.
3 years ago, that didn't matter because at the end of the day, you just think, oh, the customer just got the product. Like, who cares? But what these trillion-dollar companies like Amazon are, they have data on everything, by the way. So they can see exactly what's going on. They're not just they're not making these crazy rules just to piss you off, right? Yeah. So we're really not that special. But the reason they do those things is because they can see that the customer experience is the reason why they're the top dogs in the marketplace. Yep. And when they see that the customers are complaining because of a stupid reason that you and I might think it is, it's actually a much bigger problem. So what we can do to
yeah, because the scale, right? Like
exactly,
we see these little complaints here and there when we used to do that back in the day, and imagine just us as sellers plus how many other sellers on Amazon that were also taking advantage of that. So I could understand from an executive standpoint, hey, we want to cut this out. We've advanced. Like these marketplaces, they change and you either adapt or you die, just like in any business. So what worked, let's say a year ago, isn't promised to work now. Hence why we have changed our not our policies, but our SOPs to fit with the compliance of the platforms as they have evolved. So we used to be able to ship products directly from Walmart to the Amazon customer, but now adding that extra step in, which you can cover, it's necessary.
Yeah, but back then it was a 2% problem. But when you max that after the pandemic and all these other things that happened where everyone's shopping online, now that 2% problem becomes a 10% problem. Yep. Talking about let's say a $5 to $10 million problem to like an $800 million problem, right? Or potentially $1 billion problem yearly. So all that happens is that now we can take those same products that we were making money on, instead of sending them directly to the customer, we send them to a third-party logistics warehouse that we work with, and there's tons of them that we work with, right, to get coverage across the US. But sending it to that location and repackaging that item, and then once that sale is made, that item goes directly from the 3PL directly to the customer. And that customer gets that box, they see that your packing slip is in there, which is compliant with Amazon's policy showing that you are the seller of record. Yep. So now if there's a complaint, they're not complaining about getting a box from like another retailer they bought. They don't feel like getting scammed. All those other things that back then didn't really seem like it was a problem, now that addresses that issue. And it also helps us protect the account and keep it safer because now we have control of that product when it's actually shipped. Before, you kind of were just in the hands of whatever retailer you were using. Maybe it ships out a week later, maybe it doesn't, right? Yeah. And so you have to buy the inventory first. Yes, technically there is some kind of like wholesale side of it, but they're products that are gonna sell anyway. It's like Pampers and underwear and all this other stuff that we know moves really quickly. It's not like the FBA side, which is slightly more niched with like, okay, we know the data behind this is selling, right? Drop shipping products, we know they're just gonna sell. Yeah. So we buy them, they get sent in, and then now customers happier, Amazon's happier that we're compliant, and the client is obviously happy because we're still picking the products that we're already selling prior to this.
And so with FBA, we have more of a working relationship with our clients, meaning that we source the products, we do the analysis, we show them, hey, here's a lot of product. You said you wanted to take down 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Here's this lot of product. Do you want it? Yes or no? Yes? All right, cool. Here's how to purchase. Go for it. With the two-step dropshipping, which is FBM, fulfillment by merchant, we can really do that more on autopilot for you, because we're not going to go tie up $10,000.
Yeah, and one purchase, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That allows us to be able to kind of sift through more products online because we don't have to really worry about stock.
Yeah.
We're going and we're buying it, and that's getting sent in right away.
Correct.
And so at that rate, we're churning through that inventory typically a lot faster because we already know that it's going to sell. This is an example of a client that got a bunch of their products in today, actually probably about a day ago, just over the weekend. Some of it's been unpacked, some of it hasn't. Obviously can't show you the personal details there, but kind of let's take a look at what this is here. So it looks like this is a garden hose reel. It's about as random as an item can get, but this is the box that it's going to show up in, right? So it'll come in here relatively, this box is actually pretty discreet already, doesn't have any Walmart stuff in it, but the problem is it could come with a packing slip that's a Walmart packing slip or receipt. So we open it just to make sure, remove that out of here. This is an example of something that's already been removed, so we would go ahead and then repackage this and then get that into the shelves over there. So these all look like they're the same product. Let's see if this is, yeah, this is the same thing as well. So this is more units that are going in for this store specifically, and these will probably sell within 3 to 4 days of them being in here. So we're not even really paying any storage fees at all. So I know it's a bit of a random item, but just to show you guys that this is kind of the process, coming in here, unpackaging, getting the label out of the box, repackaging it, and then shelving it. Some people, they want to get into the e-commerce business, but they don't want to go balls to the wall right away, right? They want to see the system work, and the two-step utilization of that is a great way for people to kind of get a taste for how e-commerce really works. A lot of people just want to see something get purchased, and then once they see, oh my God, like,
yeah, once they make their first dollar, then they're like, oh, it's real, it actually works. And then also too, what's great about the FBA/FBM combination, like running both of those strategies out of the same store, because we can do that for clients, is the fact that we can fill the gaps. So when purchasing products from suppliers, when it comes to FBA, there's about a 20-day lag time to get the products into an Amazon fulfillment center, and then they sell, and then you got to wait for that lag on Amazon to pay you out. So let's say there's a 20-day gap there. Well, if you're doing FBM, you can fill that gap and still get sales as you're waiting for your FBA inventory to hit the 3PL or Amazon fulfillment center.
Exactly, yeah. It's as simple as FBA inventory takes 3 weeks to get to Amazon before it's even selling. As you're selling, Amazon's paying you out for those orders, and then you have to accumulate all those sales to then be able to buy your next batch of inventory, right? So with the two-step system, that can run alongside your FBA system. So you spend $3K on inventory for FBA. While that money's working, $1,000 or $2,000 is spent in a week on two-step products. That stuff sells, and that money is ready to be used in your bank.
Yeah, it's just realized faster. You may have a lower margin, realistically, 10%, 15% on two-step. On FBA products, we're looking at what, 30, 40% margin. So it's a trade-off between, yes, you make more money, the profit margins are higher. You can actually scale very aggressive, as you can see with this store, right? This store did how much in volume in the last 6 months?
Oh, 6 months, probably closer to 300,000 or 400,000, but just in the past 3 months, about 250,000.
Yeah. So again, you can scale very fast with FBA, but there's a lag. So you have to be prepared for that. You have to factor that in. And that's, again, why we like to layer in that two-step, and people can use their credit as well, right? They could use, let's say, a 60-day net card, like an Amex Plum card is ideal because you have a little bit longer cycle if you were going to use a charge card, or if you just used a traditional credit card that wasn't a charge card, that's also ideal as well.
Yeah, because then you could generate all the reward points and bonuses.
So I think it's time for us to wrap up this video. We really just wanted to give you an inside look at a store that we manage for a client. This client has been with us for how long?
Just about a year.
About a year. Yeah. And their store's made hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales, and they've definitely broken even on their franchise fee, the startup cost to get started with us.
I mean, the whole point is that it's a relationship to where the client benefits, and then the operators benefit as well, right? If we were to charge this crazy $40,000-$50,000 fee up front, it just makes it so that it takes you longer to make your money back. So we've tested a lot of different things like that, and the faster that we can get the clients to be profitable, the happier that they're going to be, and then the more incentivized our team is going to be to get the store as profitable as possible.